Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Kemi, and I'm here to talk about Beyond the Gates, Season 1, Episode 126. So we start the episode off with Martin coming home from work, and Smitty is on the phone, and he gets off the phone. So they're discussing being indebted to Joey and the fact that they wish that Martin's contact was able to get through before they had to go through Joey to get the information. So, what's it called? Martin's just like, I'm not worried about him trying to cash in on his debt. When the time comes, the time comes. But right now, I'm really worried. I'm more worried about my parents getting a divorce. So we go back to Ted and Nicole, and they are still at the Grands. They're still at the Grands arguing, and she tells him that oh no, he says that she's using Chelsea's situation to push him away, and he's just like, I finally do something to help the family, and you keep quiet about it and bury it because you want to keep me in the doghouse. So she's just like, you want an applause for doing something? Okay, here we go. So she gives him a hand clap, and she'll just like you did something for your baby mama that you brought into our lives, and now you want kudos for trying to do what? It's like, okay, what do you want? Like, you're barely doing anything. And she was just like, what do you want? Like, what do you want from us? Do you want us to we should name a street after you? How about Bare Minimum Boulevard? And then Danny is just like, I like Too Little Too Late Lane. And I was just like, these two girls, I love them. They feed off of each other. I love them. So she says that they're grateful for what he did, but she doesn't owe him anything. And he's just like, don't you think that you owe it to us to give us like another chance? Like, after all the years that we put into this marriage, don't you think that we owe it to each other to try or whatever? So we see Chelsea. She's at the police station, and she's telling Jacob that she's kept quiet for this long, and she has something to say, and she needs to say it. So she tells Allison that she's just a footnote in her story. She's gonna live and thrive while Allison is gonna rot under the gel. And so Allison quotes one of her lives. She's just like, you said this is what you said in your live last month, and you got what, 100, 200,000 likes. Like, this is what you want. Like, I bet you're trending worldwide, and I helped you get clout. And Chelsea is just like, I ain't want this. Like, what are you talking about? And Allison tells her, this is what she wanted. This is what influencers want. This is what they do. They want to be like big and get all this attention. And Chelsea is just like, that's not what I wanted. So she goes to attack her, and then Madison like holds her back, and Jacob helps holding her back, and then Madison takes her out, so they leave or whatever. So we go to Derek, Shanice, and Ashley. They're at the hospital, and they're talking about his progress. And Shanice is just asking him, like, what's the pain level like? What's this? What's that? Or whatever. And again, this is boring. He's saying, my upper body is hurting, but I can't feel nothing at the bottom. X, Y, and Z. Nothing really much happens. So we go back to the Grant's house, and there's still, Ted is still talking about how he's asking Nicole for a chance. Like, I need it, like, give me a chance to make it up to you, or, like, work on it or whatever. And Bill comes in, and he was just like, man, you my guy, but you in a losing battle, and I got 10 on on Nicole. And then they all start to put their bets against him or whatever. So Ted is just like, you guys are unbelievable. So we go to Martin and Smitty, and they're continuing to talk about Nicole and talk about Ted and Nicole, and about them getting a divorce. And Smitty is just like, I'm surprised that you're shocked about this or upset about this, because when everything initially happened, you was ready to take his head off. And Martin was just like, I was out of control. I was out of control back then because I was going through something. I had all this pent up, and like, hope keeping a secret and all of that was like, I had that pent up rage. So it was like I couldn't handle it. So I took it out on whatever, I took it out on everyone else or whatever. And he doesn't want his parents to get a divorce or whatever, because he thinks that that's the path that him and Smitty are going down, because they are also going through the exact same things. Like, you kept a secret just like he kept a secret. Your daddy kept a secret and you kept a secret, and now your parents are getting a divorce and you and your husband are separated, so you feel like you're about to get a divorce. And he was just like, he doesn't want that. He doesn't want to lose Smitty. So they kiss, and then Smitty stops him and is just like, what are we doing? And he's just like, I just want to be with my husband. I want to make love to my husband. So he tells him that he loves him, and so Smitty takes him upstairs, and so they get it on or whatever. So they had the little love scene on TV or whatever. And I was just like, okay, beyond the gates. I didn't think they would go there, but they went there, and I ain't mad at them. I'm proud of them. Finally, look, finally. So we go back to the Grands, and we see Naomi come back in, and she puts her money on Nicole. She's just like, I'm sorry, Uncle Ted, but my money's on my Aunt Nicole. And then she says, I gotta leave. I gotta leave to go check in on Jacob just to make sure everything is going good. And Danny says, I'm gonna walk. Danny was just like, okay, I'll walk you out because I need to go check on Chelsea. And Bill is like, should I come? And she was just like, no, we don't want to crowd her or whatever. So they leave, and then the rest of the family continues to take the bets. And um Vernon is just like, so what is it called when everyone bets on one person? Like, this is not technically a bet because no one is going against, like, there's nothing to go against or whatever. And then they start talking about Vegas terms or whatever. And what's it called? Then Ted is just like, you know what? You people. And Nita's just like, you people? And she was just like, yes, you people. Like, all of y'all, Dupree's. And he was just like, you know what? I put 100 on me. So he puts $100 down. And then he looks at Nicole. So then we get back to Derek and Ashley. And again, I said Derek and Ashley being boring. Because they're boring. So he talks about helping others and getting credit for it. And honestly, when that was said, I was just like, that just. So you became a firefighter because you wanted to help others and get credit for it. Like, I mean, okay, my guy, I guess. And he says he loves being needed, and he knows that sounds shallow, but he just wants to impress her or whatever. And I'm just like, okay. So we see Danny. She gets to Chelsea's, and she's like, Chelsea, Madison, looking like, looking for them or whatever. And she sees that they aren't there. And then Chelsea and Madison show up, and she's just like, you went to the station, did you? You went to go see Allison. And so as she's talking, Chelsea's phone, like, her notifications are going off. And Chelsea's just like, what is wrong with us? And then she throws her phone down. And she's just like, why are we like this? Like, talking to like talking to Danny, like, why are we like this? Why do we live for people to know us and want to be us, and like us being influencers and all this other stuff? And then she's telling her, like, Danny's just like, when I was on the stage, like, I wasn't modeling, like, in the social media era. So when I was on the stage, they had my time. Once I got off the stage, it was on me. And Chelsea's just like, but that's not how it is now. Like, I thought I set up that boundary, but apparently I didn't, because people feel like this is me, and it's like, this isn't cool. She does, like, she's starting to, like, regret being an influencer. And I do like that with this story, they have been leading up to this since the very beginning. Like, from initially, when they first came out the gate, Chelsea was that person who had her phone up at all times, even at her dad's wedding. To that's what got her mom in trouble, because you recorded, you went live for your fans, so they can see your dad's wedding. And it was just like, back then we were all talking about it, like, why, girl, why would you go live for your dad's wedding? Like, who cares? Like, what's up with this? Like, this is like, girl, are you okay? And then for her Nicole and Ted's anniversary, like, you were recording that, like, you were live at that moment. Naomi had to tell you to stop. So it's just like, they've been setting this up this whole time. Even when her and Madison first started talking, and Madison had her issue, she was just like, don't you feel like, you're giving them, like, all of this stuff? And She was just like, no, like I've set boundaries. Once I turn this phone off, it's just me. They don't really know. Like they see me like this. And then once I turn it off, then I get the real me and all this other stuff. So now that it's like gotten to the heat of it, it's just like, okay, so where are we gonna go with this next? Because it's just like, Chelsea, you've seen the errors of your ways and what what happens with you wanting to be an influencer. So now it's just like you've gotten the bad end of the stick. So now you're trying to be like, um, what you're like, what is, what's gonna like now that you see the bad of it, now it's like, okay, are you gonna continue the way that you were going? Are you gonna make some changes? Like, what are we gonna do? So, that's where we're at now with Chelsea. So yeah, so we're gonna see where Chelsea is gonna go with this next stage of her life. So we get back to Derek and Ashley, and again they continue to be boring. Derek is talking about how when he doesn't want to just win, he wants to smoke the competition and all this other stuff. And Ashley gives him a pep talk. So moving on. So we get back to the Grands, and Anita's picking up the money, and Ted is just like, I'm over this, and he's going to leave, and Bill is just like, man, just chill out, like we're just this is just a little family fun or whatever. And he was just like, he goes off. So he basically was just like, man, screw you, Bill. Like, I make one mistake, and I made one he's like, I made one mistake during a trying time in our relationship, and then I devoted my life to being a better man, better husband, better dad to this family. And one mistake, y'all paint me with the brush of Bill. Like y'all act like I'm just like Bill, who continuously cheated on your daughter, divorced your daughter, married a younger version of your daughter, which was his daughter's best friend at that, and then has the nerve to rub that in y'all's faces by moving her into this neighborhood, into this community, and y'all are being cozy and lovey-dovey with him, but y'all are treating me like a pariah. And what's it called? So Bill was just like, man, you like he was about ready to go upside his head. And Vernon was just like, no, let him get it off. So um Ted continues to just like, he just went off on them or whatever. And he let's see, he goes off on them, and then he tells Nicole, he was just like, you know what, tell Chelsea that I'm here for her, and and he was just like, you know what, I'll tell her by myself that I'm gonna, if she ever needs anything, I will always be here. I will always be her uncle, and I love her no matter what the court says. And then he leaves. And so Bill makes a joke, and Anita and Vernon like chuckle, and Nicole was just like, it's not funny, and she walks off. So she's just like, she's feeling some type of way or whatever. So we get back to Danny and Chelsea and Madison, and Danny is giving Chelsea a pep talk, like basically telling her, this is not your fault. Like, don't let her make you feel like you did something that you didn't do. Um, you are better than this. And again, this is not your fault. X, Y, and Z. So she tells them like, I'm gonna leave y'all to it and take care of my daughter or whatever. And or no, she was just like, Madison, what do you think she needs? Like, because Madison is a doctor, and Madison was just like, she needs tender loving care, and I'm gonna be here for her. And I got her. I got your baby. I got her. And so Danny was just like, okay, well, if you need me, I'm a phone call away. And it's just like, you're also a hop, skip, and a jump away. Like, you live in the main house. What you mean a phone call away? Like, she could just run to the house to get you. But whatever. Oh gosh. So we go back to the station, and we see Allison, this girl, she humming a wedding song. And Jacob was just like, really? And she's just like, I'm stressed. And when I'm stressed, music makes me feel better. So she starts to whistle, and he was just like, are you all right? And she was just like, I thought you didn't like humming. And it's just like, girl, are you okay? So he was just like, girl, like, you need to you instead of you humming, you need to be figuring out how you're gonna find a lawyer. Like that's what you need. You need a lawyer. And she goes, "Oh, look, there's my lawyer right now," as Naomi is walking in. And so Jacob is shocked, like, "That's your lawyer." And so he was really shook, like, "Naomi's your lawyer?" And it's just like, "Sir, you like this lady crazy. Why would you even think that?" But okay. So he asked Naomi, and Naomi was just like, "Hell no, I'm not her lawyer. I just came to make sure that she gonna rot." Like, and Allison is just like, you're my sister-in-law. She was just like, "You're not my sister-in-law. You never married my sister." And da 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 da. And she was just like, "What don't you understand about kidnapping and holding people hostage?" And she was just like, but Chelsea looks so pretty tied up." I was like, "Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. This girl is a mess." So Naomi goes to attempt to attack her, and Jacob holds her back or whatever. And then what's it called? This was, and then at the same time, I'm sorry, Allison was just like, "We're family, that's what the Duprees do. We're there for each other." And that's when Naomi tries to attack her or whatever. So we get back to Madison and Chelsea, and Madison brings her tea, and then she was just like, "You know what? You haven't eaten. You want me to go cook something up?" Like, and she was just like, like, "Are you hungry?" And Chelsea was just like, "Did she even feed you?" And Chelsea was just like, "Come." She was a perfect host. Like, she got all my favorite foods, and she she was a perfect host. Had I not been tied up, it would have been a perfect getaway. I'm sorry, that's not what she said. But basically, she was just like, she did all the right stuff. Like, she had food for me, she had a place for me to sleep. She was just crazy. And then she was just like, she even had cake. And then she was just like, "Yeah, she had this cake for us and all this other stuff." And then she went and did this whole elaborate thing with her cutting the cake and feeding it to each other. And then this was all before she tried to consummate the marriage. And then Madison is just like, "Oh, snap." Like, "Oh, okay. Oh, wow." Whew. So we get to Martin and Smitty, and they're back downstairs, and Martin's all giddy and stuff. He's hugging up on Smitty, and Smitty was just like, like, eh. So Martin was just like, when you put it on me like that, you can't help but want seconds, He was just like, "All right." So he starts to pack up his stuff, and Smitty is just like, "Well, what's she doing?" And he was just like, "I'm reclaiming a bedroom." And he was just like, "No, you're not. Like, we ain't back." Like, "No, we're not back. Just because we had fun upstairs don't mean that you are allowed back upstairs." Uh, so we see Nicole. She's at the we're back at the Grands, and Nicole is talking about how she feels bad for Ted because he did make some points, and Bill was just like, "Oh, talking about me being a villain, is that what you mean?" And Anita was just like, "If the Ferragamo fits." And Bill was just like, "Touche, touche." I love this family dynamic. See, I like when they're like this. I like when the family is like this. I don't like when they act like they can't be the powerhouse that they are when it comes to Leslie. That's when I don't like the Dupree family, because it's just like, but we're not talking about that. Let's get back to it. So Danny comes back in, and Danny comes back in, and Bill asks how Chelsea's doing, and she tells him that she went to the station, and he's just like, "I wish she wouldn't have done that." And then she talks about how Chelsea feels like it's her fault, and Allison is getting in her head, and they're just like worried about her. And so and then she's just like, she hopes that Madison talks some sense into her. So she asked where Ted is at. And so Vernon was just like, he just need no Anita was just like, he just needed to release some tension. So we let him say what he had to say, get it off of his chest, and he gone. And Danny is just like, yeah, I wish I could release some tension. So she goes and sits down next to Bill, and she puts her hand on his knees, and she's rubbing his knees, and he's got his hand around her and like rubbing her back. And the family's looking at them like, here we go again. Because they know. So we get back to Ashley and Derek. So she's fixing his pillow and she starts to adjust his blanket, and she falls and elbows him in his leg, and she's just like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, and he was just like, it's okay, I couldn't feel it. And she feels like really like, because she was like apologizing for elbowing him, and she feels stupid, so she walks out, and we see Derek rubbing his legs like he can feel it. So it's just like, okay, Derek is about to get interesting. I'm liking this. If he continues, if he starts to feel his legs and doesn't say anything to Ashley, I'm gonna be okay with that, because I need something to happen with them so that they're not boring. So if we have like a little schemer in him, I'm okay with that, because that's what soap operas are for. Like, we need schemes. Like, all this goody goody two shoe stuff is just boring, and that's why Ashley and Derek are boring. And I wish they would do something with her hair. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, put her hair in a ponytail or something. I hate this middle part that she got going on. Like, her hair. Let me stop. Let me move on. So we get back to Naomi at the police station, and she's saying that she's not she's did I talk about this already? I feel like I talked about it already, but she's I think I talked about this. I may have talked about this, but she basically says that she's not her lawyer, she's not her family, they're not married. Allison is saying, that's what family is for. Chelsea, I mean not Chelsea, Naomi tries to attack her, because Naomi tries to attack her, and Jacob holds her back and was just like, you gotta go, like, go drink some water, go get a glass of water or something. So she leaves or whatever. So we get back to Madison and Chelsea, and Madison is shocked that Allison went to this length or whatever. So Chelsea like explains a little bit to her, and she lets her know that it was because I was thinking of you, and knowing that you were out there coming for me and coming to save me, I knew that I would be okay, and I did not sleep with her. And she kept her going, so they hug or whatever. So we get back to Martin and Smitty, and Martin again assumed that because they slept together that they were back together, and Smitty is just like, no, I just needed to release some tension. We both did, but that don't mean that we back together. I don't trust you. I can't trust you. And you lied to me for years, 2 years, but it's still a lie nonetheless. But you lied to me for years, and you trusted your secret with other people, even some strangers, and you couldn't trust me. So like we took vows that we would do, like that we would be with each other. So like I need that we would, like, for better for worse, through sickness and health, through all of that stuff, we did that, and you couldn't even come to me at your worst when you were at your worst. And Martin is just basically saying, like, and then he was just like, even when our family was in danger, you continued to lie. So it's just like, no, like, we're not back together. Like, that that what we did is not a band-aid that's gonna fix everything. Like, no, it don't work like that. So Martin is basically telling him, like, I was ashamed, he was like, I didn't tell you because I was ashamed that I let myself get victimized, and I didn't want you to see me like that. And Martin Smitty was just like, so you didn't trust me to see you in your worst then, and I don't trust you now. You see how that works? And it's just like, he's right, Martin. And Martin is just like, okay, I get it, and I just want to know what I need to do to get us back to that. And he was just like, it's gonna take time. Like, it's gonna take time. That's the only way that I can build, like, you can build up that trust, is through time. Just like when y'all started your relationship, y'all built up that trust through time. So that's what you have to wait on, unfortunately. So it's just time. So he was just like, we need to mind ourselves in front of the kids, because I don't want to get their hopes up, just like I got your hopes up. And I was just like, ooh, that hurt. Sorry. So we get back to the Grands, and Bill is on the phone, and he's just like, "Oh, Hailey's wondering where I'm at. I guess I've been gone longer than I thought." And Danny was just like, "Well, then you should go, like, and I'll walk you out." So they get up to leave, and the family is just like, "Oh Lord, here we go." And Nicole is just like, they seem awfully chummy, but that's to be expected whenever a crisis happens. They family pulls together, and he and Anita was just like, hopefully that's all that is, because we I do not want to see her get tied up in that again. So we go back to Bill and Danny walking out, and Bill hands her her money, and she was just like, "You forgetting something?" And she was just like, "Give me Naomi's." So he gives her Naomi's money, and he was just like, "I'm glad that you have her back, because she has your back." And she was just like, "What are you talking about?" And he was just like, "Yeah, she thought that I was taking advantage of you." And Danny comes up to him, and she was just like, "I would never let that happen again." And she walks out. And I was just like, "I know that's right, Danny, but I do like y'all together, but I know that's right." So Bill watches her, like, he walks out with her, and he watches her leave, and it was just like, "Yeah, you want your family back. Why you playing? You want your family back. It's okay though. It's okay. We know, we know." So we get back to the station, and Naomi's drinking some water, and Jacob comes back in, and he gives her a kiss, and he was just like, I didn't get to give this to you when you first came in, because you were dealing with that. So they talk about the whole Allison thing, and she's just like, I want to be in that courthouse. And he was just like, your blood pressure is already all the way up. I am not about to explain to the family that you passed out. And she was just like, but you can nurse me back to health. And he was just like, "Yeah, I can put you in a hospital bed next to Derek, and I'll be there for you, just like Ashley's there for you." And then they talk about Ashley and Derek, and how Ashley is there for him even though he's going through whatever he's going through or whatever. So we get back to the hospital, and Shanice is talking to Ashley, and she's just basically telling her that that's your man. I don't want him. We decided that we ain't gonna be nothing but friends. So you and him need to quit with this seesaw. You have his heart. You tell him to move, he moves. You tell him to come, he comes. Quit playing this game with quit playing this game with him, with us, the audience. Get back with that man, please. So Ashley is just like, I feel so bad, because Shanice asked, "So how is he really doing?" And she was just like, "I feel bad because I fell on him, and then I was apologizing, and he can't even feel it, and I just feel like an idiot for even mentioning something like that." And she was just like, so we show Derek, and Derek is just like, "Come on, move," like he's trying to move his leg, and he can't. So he starts to hit himself, and then he feels his leg, like he feels the hit, and then that's how the episode ends. So we shall see. So again, hopefully we go down this road where he can feel his leg, but he's playing a trick like he can't feel it, so that Ashley will stay with him, so that way we can have a true reason for the longing that is going to be for Derek and Andre, because we all know that's where that's going. But hopefully we get some type of scheming in this little triangle, quadrangle thing that they have, because that side of the triangle, quadrangle is very lopsided. But that was the episode. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one.